personal favorites in the live food
Thank
world. Because it is so comprehensive, and because you were the first really to include all the studies and important research that was done with live food. Tell us a little bit about the book, The Live Food Factor, and what you think is important for people to know from the book.
Well, I was inspired to write it because I went raw 7.5 years ago, and I was so excited. I thought I found the fountain of youth, which I'd been looking for since I was a teenager. And here I was, 46 years old, and I felt like I was 16 again. And my husband went on the diet, and at first he, didn't want to do it. He was totally against it. But after 3 weeks, he said, "Wow, this is so great. I feel like I'm 20 again. Let's go all the way." So, and he was about 50 then. So I just started. I had already writing, and I thought this will make a great book. And at the time, there weren't that many books written about it. But I was working full time, so I had to write, in the evenings and everything. And I noticed that there was no book out there that had a compilation of all the studies, and there wasn't a book out there that was like a comprehensive guide, pulling in everything together and all the different viewpoints and all the different authors and field workers and everything that's happened, the history of the raw food movement. I also included a how-to, 120 recipes to get people started, and some photos, testimonials with before and after. So it's really great. The inspiration is at the beginning, and then we've got the science, a really, really good science section, which has a study on why cooked food is toxic, all the studies proving that it's toxic. Another chapter, all the good things in food that gets destroyed when we cook it. It's got one chapter that has 50-some studies. There's altogether, including the appendix, about 66 studies proving the superiority of raw.
What are some common pitfalls for people on the raw food diet
that
are mentioned in your book?
Yeah, there's a lot of them. Not being prepared for social engagements. I always say BYOF, bring your own food. If you go to a cooked potluck, you've got to bring your own food. Eat before you go, and then bring something that's so delicious. Everybody's going to ask you for the recipe, and everybody's going to want to know about your raw food diet. It's not just about salads. So another pitfall is believing that something is raw just because it's labeled raw. Like most of the nuts and seeds, I hate to break it to you, but most of them are not really raw.
They're not raw. Tell us about one or two that come to mind now that have to be cooked or are cooked that say they're raw.
Almonds, for example, they've been pasteurized since about a couple of years ago, and actually, even though they're labeled raw, they indeed are pasteurized. There's a few websites you can get them from that are truly truly raw, though.
Do you know any of the websites offhand?
Livingnuts.com.
Okay.
Goldminenaturalfoods.com.
And tell us about one of the testimonials that really struck you that you included in your book.
Well, let's see. I've got a picture of a 63-year-old woman who looks like she's about 30. She's been raw for 30 years. What I've noticed is that people often, the aging process slows down when you go raw. So people often look very close to the age that they were when they started, if not younger. I also have an 81-year-old woman, Dr. Vitruano, who wrote one of the forwards to my book, and actually helped me a lot with several of the chapters. I have a picture of her. She's 81, climbing a tree, doing ballet and everything. So that's great. And the foods are really great because they increase the body's good bacteria. Mm-hmm. And that's something that's missing in our diet. That's why our immune systems are so lacking and everybody's so phobic of germs. I've got a whole chapter on germs, germ phobia, and how germs are really our friends. We need 80% of our germs to be friendly bacteria to fight the 20% of bad ones. But often we're destroying, with antibiotics, we're destroying the good bacteria as well as the bad. That's why we get candida, and that's why our immune system is down. So a lot of people, doctors, for example, are telling people don't eat too much raw food. You might get some bad germs, but guess what? If you don't eat raw food, you're also not replenishing the good germs.
And that's really important.
Mm-hmm. And fermented foods will do that. Fermented foods are very rich in probiotics.
One thing that struck me about your book is in it you actually said that soy contains aluminum And before we started talking today, you said some information about soy causing Alzheimer's.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about the whole kind of overview about soy.
Oh, okay. Soy was basically promoted as a health food.
That's great. Yeah.
Because it was an industrial waste product, the protein part. So they
How
thought,
was it a waste product though? What was it
from
made
paint. DuPont was using the fat from the soy or something for paint, and so they wanted to, make money off of the waste product. So they brainwashed everybody into thinking this is great, this is healthy, this is a way that vegetarians can get protein. And what's actually happened is that we have an epidemic of vegetarians that have pre-Alzheimer's, and also vegetarian boys that are way overeating soy. They're eating soy milk, soy ice cream, soy everything, and soy cheese, all this processed soy that isn't even fermented, and it's very toxic, not good, unless you have it like the Asians do, which they just have it as a little side dish, some fermented soy like miso or tempeh. They're not too big on tofu. They do eat a little bit of tofu. The tempeh and the miso, that's good in moderation. But all these other processed American soy products, don't use them.